In this video tutorial series, I'm going to show you how we can take a large set of data, drill down to the important information that we want to know about, and then convert that information into an infographic. So in this tutorial, I'm going to be looking at the caffeine content of drinks, and a little bit more specifically, I'm going to be looking at energy drinks. Okay, so around the school, I've noticed there are 5 energy drinks that students tend to drink most. So we're going to have a look at those 5 energy drinks. I'm going to look at the caffeine content, how many calories they've got. Then we'll do a little bit of extra research to find out how much sugar goes into each of those cans of drink. Okay, so to get started, I've gone over to Kaggle.com and downloaded this data set for free. If you're in my class, I will give you a copy of this data set. Now, when you open it up in Microsoft Excel, it looks pretty basic. There's only 5 different columns there of data, but as you scroll through the list, you can see there's a lot of data. We've got about 611 different drinks, 610 different drinks from around the world here. So it's quite a large data set. Okay, now before we can actually do anything useful with this data, we need to convert it to a table. Okay, and the way we do that is we click in cell A1 on our spreadsheet. Once we've clicked in that cell A1, I want you to hold Control and Shift on your keyboard and press the right arrow key. And that's just going to select that top row of the table. I'm then going to get you to hold Control and Shift a second time, and then press the down arrow on your keyboard, which will highlight all the rows in the table. So what we've got now is a completely selected table. Now from here, I just want you to go up to the Home tab at the top here, look across to the right, and you will see we've got this option to Format as Table. If you click on that, it gives you a few different options on how you can format this table. I don't care what you pick. I'm just going to pick this medium blue one here. And when you click on your selection, you'll just have this little box come up, and you don't need to touch anything here. We've already selected the data we want to format. You do need to make sure this box down the bottom here is checked, because our table does have a header row. And you can click on OK, and you'll see that your table converts into this formatted lot of information now. Alright, to make things a little bit easier to see, we need to resize the columns. So I'm just going to double click on these lines between each of the letters you can see above our table. So between the A and the B, I'm going to double click. Between the B and the C, between the C and the D and the E, and the E and the F. Okay, and that automatically resizes the columns to fit everything in them. Okay, now the first thing I want to show you is how you can sort data. Okay, so we've got a list of 610 drinks here, and I'd like to know which drink contains the most calories. In fact, maybe the top 10 drinks. So what I'm going to do is find my column here that says calories, which is column C, and I'm going to click this arrow next to the word calories and simply sort it from largest to smallest. That's going to show me the most number of calories down to the least number of calories. And straight up you can see that this Arby's shake contains 830 calories, which is top of the list. So not a very healthy drink. Coming in second, you'll see this Baskin Robbins Cappuccino Blast. It's almost half the amount of what that Arby's shake has. Alright, so it's quite interesting to see how many calories are in each of these drinks. If you're on a bit of a diet, you might want to look at it the other way. Sort smallest to largest, and you can see which drinks have no calories in them, or very few calories. In fact, about a quarter of this data set has no calories. Okay, it's not until you get down towards the middle of it here, you start to see a few calories creep in. Alright, so that's an interesting way to sort the data. Another thing you might want to do is look at the caffeine hit you can get from different drinks. So we might want to sort the caffeine from largest to smallest. So we can see straight up this Black Label brewed coffee has quite a large amount of caffeine in the drink. Might keep you awake for a few days, that one. Okay, and as you go down the list, you might notice that all these drinks here are coffee. So the top 10 drinks, just here, are coffee drinks that have the most caffeine in them. So if you're looking for a caffeine hit, it looks like coffee is the way to go. If you look a little bit further down, you'll see energy drinks come into the play, but not any other drinks. Okay, it's mainly just coffee and energy drinks giving you those huge hits of caffeine. If you go the other way, you can also see which drinks have no caffeine. Alright, and that's mainly soft drinks and water by the looks of things, and cups of tea. Alright, so that's one way you can play with a data set and dig out some important information. Okay, but what we are doing in this tutorial today is actually drilling down into this data to find some specific drinks and a little bit more information about them. So instead of looking at 610 different drinks, we're going to look at the top 5 that I see around the school. So we're going to filter this data now just to dig out the information we want to see. So over here where we've got the drink names in column A, click on the little arrow next to the drink column, and we're going to go down here and start filtering the data. Okay, so I'm going to search for Red Bull to start with. That's one of the more popular and better known energy drinks around. And when I search for Red Bull, I can see now I've got these names still in the list to pick from. I only want to select the one Red Bull here. So I'm going to check this first box, which deselects everything, and then just choose Red Bull. And when I click OK, it just knocks everything out of the list except for the Red Bull that I just chose. So now I can clearly see the Red Bull data. Now I want to compare that against a couple of other energy drinks that I see around the schoolyard. So I'm going to go back to this little option here. It's now a little funnel, which is the filtered data symbol. And we're going to search for another energy drink. So we've got the V energy drink. I don't think it has a dash in it actually. So V energy. There it is. There's only one of them in the list. So you can make sure that's selected. And I also want you to make sure this second box is selected, the add current selection to filter. That's the Red Bull we chose before. So we still want to keep that in our list. And when you click OK, you'll see now we've got the V energy drink and Red Bull there to compare against one another. So quite similar if you have a look at that. Next one I'm going to do, if we go down to the filters, we're going to look up the Monster energy drink. There's quite a few of them. So I'm going to deselect everything by pressing that first button. I'll click the second one because I do want to add my current selection back to the filter. And if I go down, I'm just looking for the Monster energy drink. And I'm going to click on OK. So we've got 3 out of the 5 now. Let's add another one. I'm going to search for Rockstar this time. It's all one word, I think. There's a few different Rockstars here in the list. Again, uncheck them all. Check that second box so we still keep our current selection. And we're just going to go with the original drink here. So the Rockstar energy drink original. Click OK. And finally, we got one more, which is the Mother energy drink. So look for Mother. There's only one of them in the list, so make sure that's checked and make sure that second box is checked as well. Click OK. So there are our top 5 energy drinks that I see around the schoolyard. So we're just going to focus on these 5 drinks today. Now to clean up our data a little bit before we really get into playing with them, I'm going to look at this volume. Okay, that's how many milliliters are in each can. It's very specific at the moment, and I don't need to see it that specific. I just want it rounded up to a whole number. So what we can do is just highlight those numbers, and we can decrease the decimal point by hitting these little circles and the blue arrow pointing to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And that just rounds them up to the nearest whole number. Okay, so that's a lot easier to read. Calories look fine, so I won't touch them. Caffeine looks good. And the type of drink, I don't think we even need that information. So I'm going to right click on column E and I'm going to delete it. Okay, so we've got a fairly simple table now showing us some pretty important information. Now there's one more bit of info that I want to put into this table that wasn't originally there, and that's the amount of sugar in each of these drinks. So if you want to add another column to this table, simply go up to the next empty cell, so that's E1. And I'm going to write sugar, and in brackets write G because it's going to be measured in grams, and press enter. And you'll see that Excel automatically adds that to our table. Okay, so let's go online and do a quick bit of research to find out how much sugar is in each of these drinks. I've actually done a bit of research before making this video. I've gone to the Woolworths website, and as you can see at the top here, I've loaded up each of these 5 drinks. All I'm looking for is the nutritional information. So if I scroll down the page, I can see the nutrition information here, and we've got sugars, 27.5 grams of sugar in Red Bull cans. So what I'm going to do, where it says Red Bull, I'm just going to write 27.5. Okay, and then I'll go to the V energy drink and do the same thing. So 26.4 for V. We've got the Mother energy drinks next, 51 grams of sugar in the Mother. Monster has 57. And then Rockstar has quite a big one, 83.4 grams of sugar. Okay, so I'll zoom in a bit here now. We can play around with this data now. So I'm going to sort this table out by the drink that has the most amount of sugar. And we'll have a closer look at that, and we can see that Rockstar energy drink takes the cake quite convincingly there. 83.4 grams of sugar is pretty bad. While we're on the sugar one, I might round this up to the nearest whole number. So I'm just going to decrease the decimal points there. And we can see V energy drinks have the least amount of sugar in them. Okay, it's probably a reason Red Bull and V energy drinks are at the bottom of the list, and that is because their volume is half the size of those other ones. Okay, so if we doubled their sugar amount, you'd see that it'd be up more on par with the rest of those drinks. Now, one more piece of information I can put into this table is how many teaspoons of sugar per drink. So I'm going to add one more column here and just write teaspoons of sugar as my column heading. Okay, and the way we work out how many teaspoons of sugar are in each drink is with a simple little formula. We just write equals and we click on the amount of sugar in the drink. And you'll notice that your formula does look a little bit funny here, but just keep going, it'll still work fine. So we take the amount of sugar we've got and divide it by 4. Okay, there's 4 grams of sugar in every teaspoon. Okay, so if we divide the amount of sugar by 4, we should get the number of teaspoons of sugar in each energy drink. Now those numbers, I don't want them as decimals, so again I'm going to highlight them and decrease that decimal point to round them up to whole numbers. Okay, so I'm just going to center all this data here so it's a little bit easier to read. And I can clearly see now that Rockstar energy drink is pretty average for your health. 250 calories, 83 grams of sugar, which equates to 21 teaspoons of sugar per can. Pretty disgusting. Okay, so this information now is pretty useful to us. Okay, but I want to make it easier to read for students at the school. So what I'm thinking is we're going to convert this into an infographic. So we're going to take this, I guess you could say, boring information from this table and convert it into something that is a lot more visually appealing that teenagers might want to look at and actually take notice of. So I'm going to come back in a second video shortly and show you how we're going to create an infographic quite simply using a website called Canva. So I'll catch you in that video shortly.